Hello, it's Mike Rasmussen with CPA Straight Talk for Small Business. It is July 29. It's a Wednesday, and I welcome. So I have been, wow. Obviously, we are, as we've been talking about, the latest, really with the SBA program that offered through the CARES Act, the federal unemployment of $600 a week. That is something that is just obviously hot and heavy, and I just couldn't do any more justice and actually showing how polarized it is getting. And of course it expires in 2 days, and so that is what is happening right now. I'm kind of watching it on another screen as well, but let me I'm going to get to that little clip I'll play. I normally don't do this, but I will play it for a minute or so, and hopefully the speaking will come through so that you can hear it. But anyway, I want to just this is type of stuff that I go through. And again, it's not the channel that carries it, it's really the content. And this actually is a person that I've been following just because this gentleman's kind of independent, although he goes to different, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to get to the truth. So the truth is that there is a $600 per week amount that expires to about 14 million people in the country that are on unemployment, and that's on top of what these unemployed individuals get from the state. So it's potential someone is making between $8, $9, over $1,000 a week being on unemployment. And as that really gets to everybody right now, as that's being debated. It's a really hot topic for that many people in the country. So I want to share my screen, and what I'm going to do is I want to walk through first and again, I'm not into politics. I want to make sure, let me check one thing over here. So one of the first things we want to do, this is the PPP program offered by the SBA. And again, just to give you some security, as you know, this is actually going to sba.gov. Don't go to sba.com. Don't go to, I'll get back to this. So this is the program that has been out there since the CARES Act happened. A lot of the loans have been going since, the first week of April. We're in our second round right now, and that is set to expire here on August 8th. Again, I flip through to see if there's any new guidance. I always go to here to frequently asked questions, so there's nothing really new there. And I will try to go all the way down here to, this is the last one, the fishing boat owners. So, and then I know that just by looking at this, I like to see if there's anything that's new. We're up to about 520 billion now, so that is a little uptick there. So just wanted to let you know, I like to go. Then the EIDL, I like to flip through here just to make sure that it is still live, and it is live. And basically this is not for the advance, this is for the 30-year 3 3/4%. So I don't see, it looks like it is, you can still go in and apply. Someone asked me yesterday and said, boy, is there anything else out there for me? Because this COVID is extending. Okay, so then back on the PPP. I just want to show you real quick. Here is an article that basically was out there that talks about fraud in the disaster loan program. So remember when I went to this one right here, this EIDL, which is where you apply for and the numbers have usually been between under $150,000 at the loans. Again, for 30-year, 3 3/4%, your payments don't start. So apparently what has been happening is you've had a lot of fraudulent people applying for that, okay? So here is yesterday, and the watchdog, ineligible recipients. Here's 250 million in taxpayer subsidized these loans. So people have been calling, in fact, here are 1.9 million outside the United States. So individuals went on to the site, which is the SBA that we showed you earlier. They have entered in information because there hasn't been some really watch guards on this, very strict. Here we got 1.9 million of SBA outside the United States. And here's what 3,033 million flagged by a bank. So this is crazy. And a credit union told the justice 59 of 60 SBA deposits it received appeared to be fraudulent. So this is getting a ton of attention right now. And again, I'm not the Washington Post. Do I rely on a lot about this? But when you start seeing this article after article, and then I will start jumping in. Was the first federal loan? It's different from the 606 Paycheck Protection Program, and that's true. And rollout was hampered by, there were a lot of delays and lack of transparency, could be vulnerable to scams, and sure enough, that's what has happened. So then what happened, you can look at how long it's taken to work through. I know that, but this program is still out there. So then the next one, here's another one. And this has to do with, it was to keep employees on the payroll, but workers, some big companies have yet to be rehired. So basically what this is talking about is the loan, the PPP was designed to keep employees versus them having to claim unemployment. And here it is, but a closer look at three large received millions from the and retained most of their staff on payroll, have not retained. So here one is about a big hotel, the Fairmont, received 6.4 million from the program, but most of hundreds of workers are unemployed and unpaid. So why is this important to you? So what organizations are doing, what this is doing is really spoiling it for all the rest of us. So early on, a lot of companies, a lot of restaurant companies went in, or groups here it is, including Planet Hollywood, Bertucci's, Buca di Beppo, and here's what, 26 to 54 million for the pandemic. The rest of the staff is unemployed, unpaid employees set. So now, again, I take it for what it's worth from the source, Washington Post, again, and I'm reading through, but when you start seeing, here's a Robinson Cole, they are a data privacy security insider, and I'm looking for different, scams that are going on and stuff. So when I go through my 50 to 75, I'm up to about 75 now of sources I go through, is when you start seeing a common theme of fraud. Okay, security, we talked about earlier this week about, what to do with your CPA. And let's see right here, let's make sure that I check. I'm also checking something over here. So I want to make sure, when I'm looking at these sites, I'm looking for topics, and then I like to continue down and get in. So here's IRS's warning. So I will not only go into, drill down a little bit, I like to find out, not only do I read them, but then here it is. IRS requests anyone become a victim of these schemes report to phishing, PHISHI at irs.gov. This is good to know. And if you do not understand what phishing is, that is where there are sample, look just like emails. They duplicate them, send them to you. If you click on the wrong spot, there is malware, all the types of bots that will come onto your machine and then start tracking, like we talked about earlier this week. Okay, so let me go back to this was and again this. Then I'm going to move into we talked about this yesterday. This is the $1 trillion. So there's two sides of the House here. There's a Senate, of which is being led by Mitch McConnell, and then there is the House. The House passed the HEROES Act, and now the Senate is passing the HEALS, Health Economic Assistance Liability Protection in schools. That's the HEALS, which is used as a GOP marker for, so basically this is what, and it's been talked about. So this is $1 trillion. And then what the Democrats from the House announced was a HEROES Act way back in May. So the two sides right now are really going at each other on trying to compromise between $1 trillion and $3 trillion that was proposed by the other. So this is where we went through yesterday and talked about the key provisions on the Republican side of it. And the biggest one was this unemployment. I thought this was a great summary of what this unemployment is all about. Will be extended, but at 70% individuals lost wages rather than $600 weekly benefit Americans were receiving under the CARES Act, which was in place since March 27th. Unemployed Americans will receive a $200 flat weekly benefit until states, many of which have outdated systems, are able to calculate the 70% targeted insurance. The $200 weekly benefit is in addition to state unemployment benefits. To help you read through the lines there, the reason why this is so difficult is because the state's technology right here, many of which have outdated systems. So the Congress or the SBA through approval by the House and the Senate are proposing programs, pushing them out for other organizations to execute. Do you follow? So they're pushing these programs out. And so in this case, the states are having to work closely with one of provisions here, this unemployment benefit. The states are having to increase their technology to accommodate how to work side by side with the federal to this unemployment benefit of $200 flat weekly benefit to calculate the 70% target insurance. I can tell you right now, I'm looking on this is so difficult to do technology to change just like that overnight, especially when you've had months and months and years of systems in place, not only if the technology worked, but the procedures for everyone to follow to make this work. So here is something that's going to be thrown out there and thrown on the lap of all the states to increase their technology and procedures to make sure that this provision is executed. This is just going to be one. So there's going to be 14, 20 million people out there that are going to be affected by this. So I just don't want to, you can see the frustration here. I'm going to show you just a little bit of one side of the Democrat that basically is saying we're going to fight, every day until, we get our way or till you wear the other side down. It's the type of stuff that I read every day. So what's important to you is this is not law yet, but it is coming. So if you know anybody or you have individuals that are still on unemployment, if their benefits run down as a small business, they're going to need to, their incomes are going to be going down. So why this is important to small businesses that the labor pool, no matter what's the end result or how far it's going to be modified, I believe is going to be, labor is going to want to come back to work because now they're not going to be able to sit home and make more than what they were making. Does that make sense? So paying close attention to this is incredible. So and here, so this right here, these were all that we talked about. So when the states, here it is, state and local governments will not receive additional funding. Instead, the bill time frame in which government can utilize $150 billion from the CARES Act. So there is monies for the state and local, but what's being thrown on them, just like the PPP loans, the tool, the organization, it was the lenders, the banks, it was if you go here to the PPP, when you go the Paycheck Protection Program, this program leveraged the lenders or the banks, right? So you're talking 5,400 lenders had to redo their technology to accommodate this program from the SBA. I know. My spouse was, I was living, I watched it happen for weeks and weeks. So now, right here, when we're talking about this unemployment, the states, without additional funding right here in this new bill, are going to have to accommodate and execute the unemployment benefit change from the CARES Act that was enacted March 27th. It's a challenge. It's a super challenge to expect perfect results by just enacting laws and having them rolled out by organizations. Basically what is happening. Okay, I also want to start showing the coronavirus as the map, because this really does impact everybody. And I want to make sure that when I do my show, that once, at least for a minute, I'll be able to show you. So here are the states with mask wearing. Why is this important? Why is this important? Well, when you ever have to prove, remember, 2 or 3, 4 weeks ago, we talked about a diary. A diary was keeping track of where your small business was in this whole pandemic. Because as you can see, whether it's SBA, IRS, all the programs out there, there are little caveats in there that you have to prove how you were affected, AFF, affected, okay, by the pandemic. So I'm going to be throwing these on here every day to basically show, here's where the states with the mask. So if you were in Ohio, and today is July 22nd, basically what it's showing is that you had masks. So you were affected versus, and here's Arkansas, we got to wear masks, which is where I'm at, okay, 30 states. And then here's just a update with where it is in the country, okay? So again, I want to just show the map so that people can see not only just the stats, but where everything is at this date, okay? Enough there. So let me do this real quick. I'm gonna play it for about 2 minutes. I'm gonna do it full screen and go.
In total chaos. They've been in chaos for months, and that's why they couldn't get their act together. And we're up to these cliffs where people lose unemployment benefits, may be kicked out of their homes, don't have money to feed their folks, their kids. It's just a disgrace what their bill does. There are so many needs here. And here's the fundamental problem, Chris. This is the greatest economic crisis we've had in 75 years since the Depression, the greatest health crisis in 100 years. You need the government to help. But our Republican friends on the hard right say only the private sector should be involved. And the private sector, even on its own admission, can't solve this. So they end up with this horrible bill that favors corporate interests. How about this? They want to give a break, a tax break for the 3 martini lunch, but no more money for food stamps and people to feed their folks. They want a $30 billion cushion for the defense industry and no money, no cushion for people who...
Okay. So the only reason why I am showing that is I wanted to, what I wanted to do to emphasize to all of you is that every side is having input on laws that are to modify or enact new based on, and it's coming from Washington, D.C. at the influence of all the other, big groups out there. So organizations, there's always going to be an organization who has to execute what is rolled out. The Paycheck Protection Program was executed through the banks and lenders, which could be, and now there's 5,400 of those. Then there is also the employee retention credit was administered through the payroll tax form. So all the payroll companies that came out with a new form, if you didn't file it through your normal filing of 941, the employee retention credit, or the the first family coronavirus act, you were able to, you had to pay based on 6 categories if you were affected by COVID-19. And then that had to be run through your payroll system, which would have been, that means all the payroll companies through very early in the beginning had to modify all of their systems. So that's when that first X came back. Now the Paycheck Protection Program is with the banks. The EIDL is also administered by a bank. And then the loan forgiveness is going to be administered by, on where do you send your information. And now when you talk about the fraud, when you talk about these fraud that happens, that wasn't intended from the, when they rolled this Paycheck Protection Program out, but, and also one of the certifications when a small business applied for a paycheck protection loan, they basically were certifying that they would use it for certain reasons because they were affected by the pandemic. Well, if you're not, if you did or didn't, and that's what this is talking about, workers at some big companies have yet to be rehired. So this program had good intentions, and so we're learning every day. That's why email me at Mike at Hi Tech CPA. I take emails, I go out and scour, go into the law and find out exactly what, how I can help you, okay? And hopefully get it right down to the source, okay? So for example, we want to, one of the things that we were looking at was this. Let me bring this up real quick. This is the Senate Bill 4117. Remember this? And this had to do with, and let's just see if there's any actions here. So this text is introduced on April, let's see, on June 30, and this had to provide automatic forgiveness for Paycheck Protection Program loans under 150 and for other purposes. Where do I get that? Well, I get that out of, these are all of the sites that I actually go to by day and I keep track of, and then there's my questions, okay? So I'm periodically not only look at what we did the last week, but then I'm looking for, or the last couple days, and I wanted to see if there's been anything addressed here. So here was introduced June 30, and I'm seeing actions right here. There's nothing that has been done, okay? It was just introduced. Now, that's because there's so much there's fraud going on. There's the unemployment is running out. So what happens is I'm keeping track. I'm trying to follow best I can of little laws that are out that you're dealing with that I can actually keep track. I mean, I will go back and click on those and see if there's any progress. On this one right now, I can guarantee this one is going to surface again, but it's probably, it may or may not be part of this new act. It may just stand on its own. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to follow this one because that would be incredibly applicable to small business. Okay, so that is probably that's the most I want to go through today. I wanted to walk you through a lot of the sites that I'm going to is just to filter through. The biggest one right now, how it will impact you is that if, no matter how this, you have a lot of unemployed and primarily in the hospitality industry, restaurant bars, stuff, that the labor pool, if this is extended, if the $600 a week is extended, then you're talking the labor pool is going to stay where it's at. But when you start shrinking people's cash flow and they're on unemployment, I believe there's going to be a knock on small businesses' doors and go, I need to come back to work. What do you got? That's what I'm bringing up to you right now. So you should be gearing up to possibly anybody that's on unemployment that, you know, you maybe had to furlough or let go, and you're doing okay and you're looking. So just because they were, you know, they elected not to come back, but they were a good employee, I would reach back out to those individuals on this today, being July 29th, and I would, because of what's going on and knowing there's going to be a change, I would expect the labor pool to open up a little bit, because money, cash flow is like oxygen, and employees are going to not just going to sit around for 70% of what they made before. There's enough out there that of the 15, 20 million are going to be out really looking for work. Okay, so that is want to end on that note. I want you to just consider, here's what's happening on July 29th. If the unemployment benefit by the SBA that was in the CARES Act initially is not extended as of Friday, and however it's going to be extended, and I'll be talking about that tomorrow and Friday, however it's going to be extended, it's going to increase the labor pool. If employees are now going to be subject to, their employment benefits are going to shrink, and shrink either temporarily or permanently. So I believe the labor pool is going to get bigger, and you ought to reach back out to those that were on unemployment and basically get into your PPP funds or the EIDL funds or loan that you possibly would have gotten, and start rehiring or considering rehiring, and really look at your business plan that you should have done, and knowing that here's what's coming after Friday night. Okay. That is all I got today for July 29th. This is CPA Straight Talk. This is Mike Rasmussen. I will see you tomorrow.